Okay, much smaller project this weekend. A couple weeks ago, Zachary, my son, told me that he wanted to buy a gas-powered RC truck. And back before he was born, I had a T-maxx, which is made by Traxxas. Very cool little four-wheel drive truck with a 2-speed transmission, you know, the whole 9 yards. So he didn't have the money to buy a brand new one, so what we decided to do is to buy basically one that was used and then fix it up if we had to. And we kind of got, you know, lucky in a couple of ways. We bought one off of eBay, and the guy had represented it as being, you know, in a running condition. Bid on it, got it back. Turned out it needed a whole new engine, the whole 9 yards. We talked to the guy, he was cool about it, gave us, you know, $50 back. So we got $100 in it. And then I was at a local hobby shop, and someone had passed away and left his entire collection to this hobby shop. He had antique airplanes, he had antique helicopters, you know, I mean 6 or 7 T-maxes, just anything you can imagine. Well, we had a T-maxx there that, you know, basically I got for $75, and it's loaded out with $300 worth of upgrades. So the project at hand is to take 2 T-maxes that don't run and make 1 T-maxx that does. So we've got a whole slew of good parts. We've got a brand new engine, and our goal is to make 1 good one. And I think we're going to be able to do that. Let me show you what we got. So this one right here is the one we got off of eBay, and it has barely been used. I mean, looks almost brand new. There's not a lot of scratches on it. It's in very, very good shape. But this is the one that had the bad engine. It just didn't work. It had no compression. But Traxxas has a deal that you can trade in the engine for a brand new engine for $90. So we got a brand new engine for this, and as a trade-in for $90. And then we've got all these great parts. This is the one that I found at my local hobby shop, and it is fully loaded with aluminum everything, except, you know, the A-arms. These are RPM A-arms, RPM shock towers. It's got this really nice roll cage. The chassis is new. It has the radioactive titanium skid plates. They're damaged a little bit. You take them off and hammer them out, you'll be good to go. It has the aluminum rims, upgraded transmission, upgraded servos. The bulkheads are aluminum. They're Integy, it looks like. So this thing's fully loaded, and it didn't have an engine. It was completely missing the engine altogether. So it looks like the radio needs a little bit of work. The battery pack was broken, you know, stuff like that. But we plugged in a battery pack a second ago, and it worked beautifully. So with that being said, we are going to probably keep this one, put the engine in this one, swap the lighter rims for the aluminum rims because these things are quite heavy, and then use this guy as parts for this one if we ever need it. So all the screws and all that kind of stuff we've got. Or I might keep this one and put an engine in it and then race Zachary. So we'll see. But anyway, so here's what we've found so far. Like I said, is that we need to replace this battery pack because this one is damaged, and with the one that came out of the other T-maxx. And we're going to do that by pulling the RC, or this what you call the transceiver, the receiver. This actually receives the signal from the controller, which is right here. So right now we're in the process of changing this out because this one was actually torn and broken. So I've got to pull this out to unplug the battery pack. Alright, so we're going to remove this transceiver out of this chassis and replace the battery pack on it. Try not to lose your screws. And it always is beneficial to use a screwdriver that has a magnetic end. Right. I'll tell you, working around this roll cage is a pain, but it is somehow attached to this bulkhead. I can't get it out. All right. And I've already found another problem. Looks like what they did when they put this in, they pinched it between the this little box right here and the bottom part of the chassis where the wire went in. It pinched the wire against it, so we have corrosion and problems galore. So our best bet's probably gonna either replace the servo, which I'll probably do real quick. That'll be the easy way. Just put a new servo in it because that's the one that's bad. or just replace this transceiver altogether. We'll start with the servo and see if that fixes the problem. What we discovered is the steering servo in this one that I got from the hobby shop, the one that has all the upgraded parts. The steering servo is bad, and you can see that this guy put some type of green stuff around it, and I think he was just trying to waterproof it or something. But this thing is out of here. So we got the new one, or the one off of the other T-maxx that we know is in very, very good shape, just doesn't have all these nifty upgrade parts. And we know this thing works, so we're actually swapping that out in here. I think we're also going to do the one, the other servo that actually does the shifting also, so that way all the servos are 100% and we know we're good to go. So we're just tugging along on this. Zachary's working on one, I'm working on the other. We're in the process of taking the tires off just so we can have a little more room here. As soon as we find something else, I'll update you on this, but seems pretty straightforward. Just take one part off, put another part on, keep it simple. Here's a little tip I learned years ago when putting a steering servo in, in order to get, because the tires, if you put the steering servo in crooked, the tires will go, one way or the other, either left or right. And you have this little piece right here that goes onto the steering servo. So what I do is I turn on the unit and get it centered. Well, what happened here? Oh, wrong one. I grabbed the wrong remote control. There's two of them up here. Plugged it in the wrong one too. You plug it into the correct one. I think it's number 1 on here. Yeah, it is. All right, so what you want to do is you want to make sure it's centered. So you take your trim and make sure that it's set at 0, and now it's in its right spot. So now what you do is you put the steering arm on there to where the teeth are lined out properly and the tires are straight. And then that way you don't have to worry about aiming them correctly whenever or adjusting the steering trim. So now the trim is set proper. Here's another little tip on steering. This has a turnbuckle on it, which means you can thread it in either direction to make it go in or out. And when you're putting it on, lining up on the steering servo, sometimes where the one setting will be or the other setting will be, a tooth will be in the middle, so you can't get the tires exactly straight. So what you do is you just turn it in either 1 or 2 turns to where then you can get it to line up exactly perfect in your straight position like I just did there. So now it is 100% straight, and it means it's going to go the same to the left or the same to the right. So that way you don't have a pull or anything like that. And we are set straight up. And we're straight center. So steering's done. All the servos have been swapped over, and I did the exact same. You got to make sure when you're taking it out, you remember where your servo settings were, so that way you don't mess everything up. As far as which way it's supposed to go, forwards, reverse, reverse is forward, that type of thing. I put the receiver back inside there and then screwed it down, just making sure that the little wires, which are right in here, don't get. Let's see if I can hold that up for you. There's little wires that are right down inside here. Make sure they don't get pinched against the chassis. That way it doesn't work. And once it's all said and done, you take, and I haven't mounted down the battery box yet, but you turn it on and you run through everything. Make sure that it works. Let's put the battery over here. T-maxxes are kind of heavy, and they don't like. You shouldn't really sit here and turn the steering when they're sitting here flat. It can cause some stress. So there's our right and left, and our forward and reverse. Got it, and then our throttle. We're good. So we move on to our next step. We're going to put the battery box back in there and put our antenna piece back on as it fell off. And then I'm going to show you the engine that we're going to put in here, and so we can get ready to run this thing. Here's our brand new engine. It is a TRX 2.5. This is the R series from Traxxas, $90. And we've got to assemble it now, which means putting all the flywheel and engine mount and the electric starter on the back. So I'll show you how all that works here in a second. here is the old engine. And well, this is one of the old engines. You can see piston goes up and down. And we need to get, I don't need the flywheel because I've got the old flywheel from the old engine in our little parts bag over on the other side. But I need to get, there's a little tapered collar on the back of this that we need to get out. Now, thing is though, how do you take this off without the engine spinning? Well, easy way to do that is, since this engine's junk, we're going to stick a screwdriver in here. You can do that with a zip tie if you want to, but since this one's junk, I'm just using a screwdriver. Alright, so that is it. Slide your, pull the, wow, this flywheel is going to be difficult to get off. Looks like this guy let it rust on. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick a screwdriver between the flywheel here. Woo, there we go. It's popped right off there. So it's done, and there's a little collar on here that we need to get off. And it doesn't want to release. You see this collar right there? That's what we need to get off. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I just took my screwdriver and put it up against there and pried it out. So it needs to be transferred over to the flywheel of the other one, or to the other engine. You see how knurled up this is? We're going to toss that one. We have Zachary's original one here. Which is much prettier. So you see here's the front of the engine. We're going to take and put that little nut on there, or the little collar. Boy, it doesn't want to go on there either.